What's up, YouTube? Trust you all had a great week. Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for coming by. Today is going to be a special day. We're talking about mental health. And to do this, I have on the set live the mind doctor herself, Adanze Osomonika. So Adanze is a mental health therapist, wellness and communication specialist, speaker, trainer, and public health expert. She is the host of the TV show Mind Doctor. She's the author of Drowning, a true story and practical guide to overcoming depression. She's also the CEO of Made Care Health, an organization that offers wellness solutions, consulting, and psychological support services. So everybody, please welcome Ada. Ada, you're so welcome. Thanks for coming on the show. Thanks for gracing this channel with your presence, right? Like we talked about earlier.
Virtual presence.
Virtual, exactly. You know what I mean? So we are talking about it
Thank
earlier.
you. I'm glad. Yeah,
We talked about it earlier that just it's been 2 years now since we hooked up on LinkedIn and we became friends on Instagram and back and forth. And what was part of the conversation on LinkedIn back then was when I discovered that you were into the mental health field, and I was like, wow, this is something that I began to do some study in myself, and I felt that Nigeria needed this a lot, right? So I'm so glad again to meet you and to have you here. So can you tell us first of all what got you into this field?
Wow, mental health. Funny enough, I'd always been exposed to it even before going to medical school. In fact, I remember something. I always stayed away from it because I felt it was unconsciously. I felt it was too close to home because I kept seeing mental illnesses among extended family members and things, and close family members. And I always wondered why. This was something that is not really understood in our society. It's shrouded in mystery and secrecy and covered in spirituality, as it were. So I was
Yeah.
always just staying away from it until some time when I now experienced depression. When I now experienced depression for about 3 years, and I think 1.5 of those years, I knew that there was something wrong, but I couldn't define what it was because back then people were not talking about depression. Nobody was talking about depression. There was no social media. There was no, okay, somebody's going to be here to give you information on what it feels like or what it should feel like. But I was experiencing all the symptoms, and and I think it was because of my quest, because what I was doing or the way I was behaving was so different from my personality, my natural personality. So I knew that there was something wrong with me, and I wanted to get to the bottom of it. And already being a medical personnel, it just made me, now go and actually start to study. Is this a condition that nobody has ever spoken about? What is going on? I started studying more. Went back to do my masters. It was during the course of my masters that I now started to specialize in the area of mental health. And I think what really shook me so much at that time was when I was actually contemplating suicide. And it's not in my nature at all. I'm not that kind of kill yourself and die type of person. It was like I experienced a major failure in my business at the time. I tried to go into business and experienced failure, and I was not used to failure, so to speak. I will explain a bit more later what I've come to understand failure really is. But back then, to me, it was like a taboo to fail. I was always like, I do something, I hit, I do something, things just keep progressing. So experiencing failure on that level, shocked me, so to speak, and then I was now like, okay, and I started contemplating that, okay, I'm a loser in everything, which is how mental illness actually works. When somebody, maybe breaks up with you, you now conclude that you are unlovable by everybody, or you failed an exam, you now feel, oh, I'm an weirdo completely. So that's the dynamic of how it works. So by the time I started to discover what are the things that can help improve my mental health. I found fitness, found healthy living. I started living my life intentionally. I was learning and applying, so to speak. So one of the things that hit me then was that if I could experience this, then that means that there are like hundreds of thousands of people who could be experiencing the same thing, and they don't even know where to start. to even try to find out what is wrong. And people around them just know that there's something wrong with them, but nobody can put their finger on what it is,
Yeah.
So I made it like, it became like a quest for me that I would help as many as I could help, both in church, both out of church, anywhere that I see somebody experiencing some kind of mental difficulty. I could just somehow see it. People would talk and I would know that there's a mental health struggle there somewhere. People would, I was extremely sensitive to it. So it was more than just a profession. It now became
Yes.
more or less like a calling. It became like a purpose. It became, it was like a passion that I really wanted people to be able to take charge of their mental health. I didn't want to go. I saw a lot of physicians then that would talk about health from just being a physician, not from the angle of an experience or an empathy, or understand what
Yeah.
the patient is actually going
Haven't gone
through. It
through it
was more or less
yourself.
like, yes, exactly. It was more or less like, okay, you guys just take the medicine and you'll be all right. And I was like, no, and that you need to let people know that you actually understand what they are going through. For you to even be able to help a patient, I think you need to understand on a certain level what it is for somebody to say, I can't focus, or I get up in the morning, I can't get out of bed. I'm just, I'm done. When people use statements like that they are just, there's another way of saying I'm burnt out. I can't move, I can't think, I can't, I'm experiencing blocks, mental blocks, I'm contemplating killing myself and stuff like that. So I think it's when you're coming from the angle of, which I've even seen a lot of my colleagues now, they understand it, they communicate it in a better way because they themselves have experienced it. So I think it makes you more powerful when you're talking about something from an area of not just knowledge, but it's an experiential thing. It's something you're passionate about. You want to help that person come out of. It's almost like when you see some financial gurus or even a Jeff Bezos that built a business from scratch. Because he's built the business from scratch, if he's trying to coach someone, he won't just be talking theories to you. He will actually be telling you stuff that he has actually done. This is what we tried. This is how we did. I watched him once and I was like quite impressed that this guy doesn't talk like the average guy that's just shooting, just talking, just trying to make the rest of us mere mortals feel that people will come up to where I am, come up to where that kind of scenario, And so I feel, but it's true. A lot of us go around like that with the knowledge that we have. We kind of make others feel like you're stupid. That's why you don't know what I know. But I really, it shouldn't be like that. Nobody's stupid. It's just that our own situations, our backgrounds, experiences we have, they kind of program us to function, to be dysfunctional. Let me say it like that.
Yeah.
To become dysfunctional. So I was really, it was a private story it was private to me, even after getting through depression and starting to live my life. And then I was writing. So somebody asked me, I think one of my mentors said, you have to write a book. You have to write a book. Have you read your writing? She was just telling me that I could write. And I was like, okay, what should I write? Maybe I just write about, something happening in the country, just something vague, and I just felt this nudge that no, you're meant to write about mental health. And I was like, it's too close. So it's too close. As in this is real. He said, no, it's your
Working
story.
home.
So write your story. Right? Yes, exactly. He just said, write your, and it's so funny. I've been trying to write, before that time, I've been trying to write for like a year, but I would always get stuck. I'll do maybe a few sentences and nothing will flow again. But the day I decided, okay, it's time to tell this story, that night I got to chapter 3 of my book. I got to chapter 3 because everything I was remembering, everything. So I knew that this was a story that I needed to tell. And then also now bring in the practical aspect of it and the knowledge aspect of it, alongside it. But so and I think that's been my driving force for now. Anywhere I go and people, I'm going to talk about mental health like that. Wake me up from sleep like that, because I see it everywhere.
Yeah.
I was telling someone in you see it in the conductor, in the bus, the driver, who everybody is saying you're driving nonsense, but he's looking at you people as if, what are people saying? I don't know what people are saying.
Yeah.
I see it even in the comedians that are cracking jokes about everything. Everybody's just cracking jokes because we're all looking for a way to cope with the stress and the tension that we have all around us. So it's like avoidance. Let's just crack a joke and laugh. But you also have cases where you see people, they'd rather, even instead of dealing with the issues that are within them that they are being confronted with, let's just let's not go too deep. Let's just But later on, these things boil up, and when things like stress and compounded with all kinds of things happen, you now have people breaking down. You have mental breakdowns. You have full-fledged psychosis setting in because the mental illness issue has already been on ground, just in small signs: anxiety, panic attack, depression, confusion, phobias, and all that. There's so many stuff, but we just.
If I can even ask here now, let's imagine, let's communicate to the layman now, because a lot of times when you say, especially in Nigeria, when you say mental health, people identify it, or people try to match it with madness, like insanity. So what is mental health from your own perspective? How would you help us to understand what mental health is and why everyone should be conscious of their mental health? So how will we say?
That has actually been the problem for years. When we say mental health in the African setting or Nigerian context, everybody thinks it's ARA, or think it's just just people going as in query, as they say, just people going crazy. But I mean that's not what it is. Mental health is like, or mental wellness as well, is like the optimal functioning of your mind. It is the position where your mind functions in such a way that you think, you feel, and you act in a way that is that has a positive impact on your social and your physical well-being, like your interactions with people or your physical health, even your spiritual. Because I tell people that it's all integrated. It's all integrated. Spirit, soul, body is all integrated. You are supposed to be like in harmony, not hungering spiritually and then or full physically. You're supposed to be like a whole individual. So it's part of your thinking, your feeling, and your acting. What do you think about? How do you feel? And how do you behave? Those three things are connected. What you think about will influence how you feel. How you feel will influence how you behave. If I just think one thought now that, I don't like what that guy is doing. Maybe like somebody is maybe trying to break down my gate, for example, or just knocking at my gate, knocking, and the first thought comes, I don't like how that guy, I don't like what that guy is doing. A feeling will follow, maybe a feeling of anger, or a feeling of who is he, a feeling of what does he think he's doing, and then before I know it, I'm outside there, maybe going to go and give him a piece of my mind, or even punch him out. There's always a sequence. So I tell people that when it comes to mental illness, before mental illness sets in, there will be a sequence of what you've been thinking about, how you've been feeling about what you've been thinking about, and then eventually how you act. Likewise, when I think, okay, I want to I think I should, maybe I'm somewhere with friends, and everybody's sitting at different tables, maybe at a party, and a thought comes to my mind that I think I need to go on one table and start dancing. And that after that, I was like, that would be nice. And in my mind, this is going on in my own mind, not other people's minds. That would be exciting to dance on that table. And then before I know it, I'm climbing on the table and I'm dancing. Now, people around me will say, that's a very bad. There's a word they use it that judgment, as in what made you think that's a good idea to do that? That's how mental illness kind of like works, because anybody who is experiencing optimal mental health, these are the signs where you know whether you are experiencing optimal mental health. One is that you realize your own abilities and potential, right? You know what you're capable of, your strengths, your weaknesses, the good parts of you. I mean, everybody has abilities, everybody has potential. I crack the joke and tell people that, when we're talking about potential, we don't mean when a guy toasts the girl and then they ask the girl, okay, what about that guy? You say, he doesn't have money, but he has potential. But that's not what I'm talking about. But we're saying that potential within me, what are my own abilities? What are my own potential? We try to raise our children like that, but our parents didn't raise us like that. Everything was streamlined. It's either you had academic, academic IQ, what am I saying? Academic intelligence. Nobody
Yeah.
ever bothered to ask about emotional intelligence. Nobody ever bothered to ask, okay, is this person good in drawing or painting or singing? We had things really streamlined.
The creative arts.
I remember my mom was a nurse, and I asked her why she became a nurse. And she told me that back then, the women were either teachers or nurses. That was it. So some of her sisters became teachers. And well, she became a nurse because she wanted to be a nurse. She went to university, did it. She was a matron before she retired. Her baby sister was a teacher at first, then eventually relocated to England and became a nurse. Why? Because there, nurses were being paid and all that, but everything was streamlined. You weren't told that, okay, you can become an engineer when you're a woman. Back then, they weren't told any of that. So there are a lot of stuff that we don't even realize. Children are suffering because they don't know of their own abilities. They don't know about their own potential. So that's one sign of if you are experiencing optimal mental health, you need to know about your abilities and your potential. 2, you need to know how to cope with the stresses and challenges of life. Now, stress, as I tell you, stress is the demand that is placed on the brain or the body. Maybe, I'm going out and there's traffic, everyday traffic. That's a demand. Like, you have to rise up and face that traffic, get to work. There's good stress, there's bad stress, right? Good stress is your day. You're just like, you have an exam. Your body rises up to face that exam and pass. That is the normal way. Your body needs to rise up to different challenges and different stresses. But when it becomes a problem is when stress becomes continuous, chronic, endless, because the body is not supposed to be responding every time to stress because of the level of hormones that are released when it happens. But what you see in society, a lot of people are not trained to even know what's good stress or what's bad stress or how to deal with the challenges of life. Right? We're meant to know how to do, because challenges will come. It is I don't want to use the word fully, but it's stupid to think that we'll not face challenges. We'll face challenges, right? So how do we deal with these challenges? When challenges come, do we cower, or do we instead of stepping up to the plate and being realizing your potential to even deal with the challenge? Do we do that, or do we just give it up, or so this country is useless, everything is useless, there's no hope? So that's 1. Then 2, then 3 rather. One sign that you're experiencing optimal mental health is that you are productive in your work. Now, one of the signs of mental illness is somebody who was formerly productive suddenly now becomes unproductive. He or she maybe was top of his game in the office, always hitting, or a child who was passing, always at top of our class or top of his class, and then maybe he's molested sexually or something. Suddenly you find that they start failing. Some of them, they become imbeciles right from there. They can't function again because something has interrupted the flow, right? So, but if you are mentally, aware, and you see that change in that person, he or she is no longer productive, he or she is not, both at work or the person in school, then there's something wrong somewhere. Something has gone wrong in the mental system. Something has happened to this person to unhinge this person from his or her productive way of life. You get so you have a lot of people walking around, they're not productive. So that already in itself is mental illness. So that already in itself is mental illness. I want to mention the 6 because some of these things are from WHO. Some about 2 I think I added myself personally, but I just saw it in life and so that people were not this thing. I see this thing happening, a lot. So as you said, engaging in productive. The next one, the 4th one is contributing to your community. That one, the typical Nigerians will say, "What you concern me with community? Everybody find your way." But we are realizing more and more that if you want to succeed, to be even flourish, like all these secular teachers and co say that, look, when when they discovered, when their life finally took off, was when they realized that whatever they were doing must be more about, it can't be just about them and their family, right? Just me, myself and my children. That's what I'm working for. That's all I'm working for. Then I realized there had to be a bigger picture. Why? Because we are in a society, and in mental wellness, you are meant to have, which brings me to the fifth point. You're supposed to be able to enjoy strong relationships. So I said, contributing to your society, one, strong relationships, strong, good relationships. We are humans of how will I say that, connectivity. When we do not connect, in fact, some of the symptoms of mental illness is when we are not connecting well with others. We don't want to see anybody. Maybe like people now just say, I just want to be alone. I don't want to see anybody. Yeah, there are times when you want to hibernate, recharge, stay away from people. That's fine. It happens. But when it becomes that is your way of life, you don't talk to anybody. You just want to be on an island all by yourself. Then there's a problem, because conditions like depression, and there's one of our conditions that they are what you call dissociative disorders. They do not get better when you are alone.
Wow.
When you choose to be by yourself. Oh, you are going through depression. You're now saying, no, you don't see anybody. I don't see anybody. I just want to stay in my room. They don't get better. They actually get worse, because in that course of being alone, the thoughts, the system is already, the mind is already running negative thoughts. There's already like a kind of programming in your mind. There what you call there are neural pathways in the brain. The brain can rebuild itself, replenish itself with the right kind of thoughts. When you feed it the right kind of thoughts. There was something I was watching this recent there's this ad, this recent Friends. They are doing like a reunion. Yeah, the show. Yes.
Yeah.
Reunion. So Jennifer Aniston was saying something about the neural the pathways in the brain, and I said yes. When they all met themselves at the beginning of the show, they just felt this connection to each other, and within their minds, a bond was formed. So that in their brains, they felt that this person is my family, right? I'm going to live and die for this person. So I even think they even agreed among themselves that they were going to be paid the same thing. If they don't pay all of them the same thing, and I think that thing now made waves across other boards, where everybody was just fighting for themselves, what they would pay them, But they succeeded so much as a cast because all six of them agreed to collect the same money. That connection, that strong relationship was there. So they were able to be there for each other, even through the stress, the Hollywood, all those stresses. All of them went to different kinds of stress. But that connection, knowing that somebody is there for you, it's such a very, 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 very powerful thing. That is why when relationships don't work, especially relationships that you believe that would be there for you no matter what, that's why you happen to now fall into depression, or start having panic attacks, or start contemplating suicide, because man was not built to be like alone. Even the Bible says that it's not good that man be alone. It's actually deeper than that. It's not just because I have a woman around me just to be frolicking with. That's not it. There's something inside the human system. No, honestly, there's something inside the human system that craves connection, that craves supportive connection, not toxic connection.
Yes.
Genuine connection. I was talking to these young people, and I was telling them, because they had to now start reevaluating your relationships. It's good if as you're young, so that you are able to identify what proper relationships are. If somebody is going to bust you because you don't have as much money as him, or he's going to bust you because maybe you're not the happening guy in class, and all that, then that's not a real relationship. That's not a genuine relationship, because the person should be able to love you for who you are, stand by you, as in just, even if you are sick, you are dying, whatever, but stand by you. Every human being craves that connection, because that's how we're made, right? And then the last one is ability to enjoy life. This question, I ask it all the time in every session. What does it mean to enjoy life? Some people don't know, because life has hit them with so many things. Especially when I see women, they get married, start having kids. In fact, at the point they get lost in the mix. so they forget, they don't know. I was asking him, even a man, I was asking him in a session, and he said, in a speaking engagement, and he said that his own is just to drive. There's a place near his office. He would just drive there after work, be there for 2 hours, take one or two, one or two bottles and drive home. And that is his definition. And he was saying it straight from his guts that it makes him feel like this life is worth living or something. So I think when I tell people that, because when people begin to experience mental illness, when you ask them, what have you done that is enjoyable, maybe in the past 1 year or 2 years, someone say nothing. They've not, because one of the symptoms of mental illness is things that the person previously enjoyed, they lose interest in. So you see a lot of people, maybe they were singers, they were writers, maybe they were actors, or they were whatever they were. They kind of like start losing interest in all those things. They just lose interest. They don't go out with friends. They don't want to go and have fun. They just want to be on their own and be miserable, cry for hours. For some personalities, not even crying, they'll just be irritable. They'll be snapping. They'll be cut. They will look for you to cut people. They will be self-sabotaging every relationship, because there's something going on inside them that is a pain within them that they can't even seem to understand that this is a mental illness. There's something going on, and I think it's because the word mental, when we say the word mental in Nigeria, we look at it like a negative word.
Yes.
So when you want to say mental, what do you mean?
Please not me, my enemy that's mental.
I remember, I even have to show my book. I remember when I first wrote my book. So this is the book that I was so scared to write. It's called Drowning.
Can we see it again? Drowning. Can we see it clearly?
Drowning. It's called Drowning. I'm trying to see where. Yes.
Yeah.
True story and practical guide to overcoming depression. Okay. But I didn't even know. I just said, okay, let me just do this, And then I was at a tournament, a golf tournament. And funny enough, the men who came to the tournament were like, oh, okay, let me just take a book. Oh, mental health. You know how men, they won't say too much. Just, they'll collect the book and to give to somebody. And I remember asking one or two women. And as soon as I just said, the book is on mental health, depression. No, I'm okay. It's so quick. I'm okay. Look, see, there are many things we've attached, to this whole thing, and those things that are not true, so to speak. When anybody who experiences mental illness doesn't mean you are weak. Some people equate it with weakness. Because you are weak, that's why you're depressed. Because you are weak. If you were a strong person, you will not be experiencing. No, because mental illness, it's not just from. It's not. People say spiritual. Maybe there's a spiritual remote or something. Yes, I won't even lie, because in this society, we're from Africa, so hardly can you deny the spiritual aspect of anything in Africa. We're Africans, right?
Yeah.
But there's also another part where your environment, right, your background, growing up, whatever your parents exposed you to, whatever you were exposed, all these things are factors. All these things are factors, including genetics, because you go to a family, just like the way you find diabetes, high blood pressure, you just see those things in family trees, heart disease.
Yes.
You also see mental illness. You come to some families, you see schizophrenia, you see depression you just see different places. You see bipolar, you see claustrophobia. You just see all those things that everybody's exhibiting their own in different ways. It does not mean, however, that because there's mental illness in a family, then you must experience mental illness. No. Likewise, it does not mean that because there's no mental illness in the family, that the person will never experience mental illness. They will, if the right factors come in. Example, COVID. Some people never believe in their lives that will ever be told to stop. It was like I think they put a wall in front of everybody. Nigeria alone we're like hamsters on a wheel. We are constantly moving in every area, both in church, at the workplace. Everybody's moving in Nigeria, moving, and all of a sudden, bam! They were just told stop. Now, what was happening? Some people were using their work as though it's a form of paying for your livelihood and all of that. But for some people, it was an escape. They haven't spoken to their spouses in years. They just good morning. Okay, I need money for this. or this, that kind of that. There's no deep conversation. You just leave the house by 6 a.m., some by 5:30. They come back by 9 p.m., Monday to Friday. On Saturday, they either sleep in or they go out with friends. They are not here. Church is like a formality. They go to church. They are not relating with anybody. This woman carry a wallet and just be going. I just don't say, hey, I'm not interested. This man carry a wallet. Everybody was just, people are just living like that. Bam, the night squad at their office now decide that, everybody's going to be working from home. Hey, if you know how many cases I've had to, in this name of working from home, now they don't know how to relate. Being in the same space for hours on end. So we've had an increase in mental breakdowns, because people can't deal with that proximity. Maybe all the while the woman has been maybe she'll just make breakfast and give it to the man will go. Now she has to make, but that time it wasn't a funny time at all. Even some people are still experiencing it anyway, where they make the breakfast, before you know it is lunch. Then you not be asking yourself as a mom, you're working at the same time, so, but so you're dealing with, and then you're thinking this country, and then you're also wondering, is the office ever going to resume? What is all of this? Why must I now be forced to relate with this person? Nobody's saying these things out loud, but that is what is happening to people, So we had an increase in that. People are now forced to confront their mental health. People are now forced to confront their thoughts, forced to confront their emotions. About some people have panic attacks when they think, oh my God, is this how?
So like putting a mirror in front of everyone and saying you must look at yourself now. This is who you really are.
Now, I was in in a speaking in a training, and what was the question? This is before COVID, so you can imagine what happened after COVID. One woman just said, "Ma, this is an elderly woman." So I said, "Ma, what's the issue?" She said, "Ma, the problem now is, my husband, we've been married, I think 30 years, or God knows how long, years. My kids are grown, they've left the house, but we don't talk." He said, "We don't talk." I said, "Why?" He said, "There are only two things he likes: football and the law." He's a lawyer. Those are the only two things he likes. I said, "When did he start liking this?" He said, "He's always liked them from the time they were married." Now, do you like those things? She said, "No." I said, "Did you try to, understand football or even the law or whatever? Maybe not. Let's not push it too far and say you must read law. You don't have to read law. But did you try to understand football?" He said, "I don't have time for that." But what happened with her was that she was like avoiding having to work on that relationship, on that communication. She just leave him, give him his food, and then she was not facing the children. She's a lot of mothers facing the children. Bam, the children grew up. Newsflash, the children grew up and left the house.
No more distractions.
So, now the man is here, and you've spent 30 years not relating. So to start the conversation now, now you want to start. How do you want to start the conversation? Now she sees, as a woman, she needs to relate. The woman needs to. Men are emotional; they need to relate. Now you find out that you can't be pounding. Your kids will even tell you, "Mom, I'm really busy right now. I'll call you later." Some moms have gone into shock when they suddenly realize that these kids, their life has started. Will you be calling them during lecture, or will you be calling them when they are doing their own school run? It's even maybe when they even marry and have kids that and if they happen to be in the same country with you, that maybe they have time, then you cannot tell them, "Okay, please bring my grandchildren now. Let me," if you're even that kind of mom.
Yes.
Now she was confronted with the man. The man will be sitting down there watching his football. She can't say they can't relate. So I always tell people that, okay, so what are you doing now? Because what are you doing right now? You are using work to avoid having the conversation. You are using work because you just don't want to deal with each other. And why is that? I even see that a lot of that happens because some of us come out from families of dysfunctionality. We are like dysfunctional. We are programmed dysfunctional. There's nothing we can really, we are dysfunctional. The way we think, the way we operate. Because every time I have sessions with people, and that's at the end of the day, we always try trace it back to your childhood and how you were raised, or how you interpreted how you were raised. How you interpreted said it, because that one too is very important. There was a case I heard of a guy who became gay, right? Or started dressing like a girl. Let me say it like that. Started dressing like a girl. And people were asking, why? Did anybody molest him? What made him think that he's a girl? And when we now got deeper, I discovered that he had one sister. And his sister was sick. She had a terminal had a very serious health condition that demanded a lot of time from his parents. So they were always paying attention to her. Not because they loved her more than him, but because she actually needed the attention. But to him as a child, he interpreted that as they love her because she's a girl and they hate him because he's not a girl. So he felt he had to become like a girl to get some kind of love somewhere. Maybe he needs to be a girl before people can love him. And it's so easy for children to come up with those kind of thoughts because, as I told you, it starts with a thought,
yes,
then a feeling, then an act. So he just took one thought that it's because I'm not a girl. That's why these people are not paying. That's why my parents don't love me. I'm not enough because I'm not a girl. If I'm a girl, I'll be enough. I'll be enough. And he never had probably even had the conversation with his parents to be able to know what exactly was going on, that led them to, that it wasn't about, it had nothing to do with sex. It had nothing to do with gender. So what I see a lot of that, because there's a lot of confusion, we are sometimes even dysfunctional parents produce dysfunctional children. I was telling someone therapy is very important because it takes you from a life of dysfunctionality to a life of functionality. It helps you break down all those twisted, you hear a lot of ladies say, I don't want to, in fact, I never wanted to marry. And this is even those who have come into the church. This is not but because, and you ask, when you go deeper, you find out that it's because of the example they saw from dysfunctional parents. And probably those dysfunctional parents came also from dysfunctional parents. So the cycle keeps going until somebody decides, okay, no more. Even in poverty, somebody was saying, one of these expert guys was saying that he came from a family of poverty, one of these white big speakers, and that he just told himself at the point that he's going to break this cycle of poverty. He did realize he even traced his whole ancestry. His grandfather, his father, how did they come up? Why were they thinking like this? There was this story I heard a while ago that there was a woman who always baked a cake with a particular, size of pan. It will always be so small, or it will be a particular size, and she will still cut it so that it will be small. And somebody asked her, I think her daughter asked her, why do you bake this size or something? It was also like, why do you bake? He said, my mom said this how we bake. I learned it from my mom. So the girl was very curious and went to her that's her grandmom now. Yes. Why did you why do people bake it? Like he said, her own mom told her, showed her that that's how they bake it, which is the great grandmom, right? So and I think she happened to be alive. So she now went to the great grandmom and asked her, I'm confused. Why do we bake this thing like this size? The woman said, oh, it's because I didn't have enough space in my kitchen for a bigger. So I was trying to manage the space. That's why.
And they saw it as law. This would pass down from generation to generation.
And you hear a lot of, this is how this is how it's done. It's never been done this other way. This is how it's done. But we never
without any reason, without having the understanding.
We don't marry people from this. We don't. That's how it is. We do. This. Do you want to break the tradition? If we really go deep, find out that look, it wasn't even. It was just somebody who just maybe his kitchen was not big enough. That was why. I'm telling you. Or maybe even it can be as bad as maybe because he couldn't afford to go to university, so he just finished Stand 6 and became a teacher. So since then, everybody has been thinking, okay, we all need to become teachers or something, not knowing that there was no choice at the time for him. So when they now start seeing other people aspiring to be more, to do more, to maybe somebody in that family say, I want to be an aeronautics engineer. I'll say, there's never been an aeronautics engineer in our family. All of us are lecturers. We've been teaching since did you?
Yeah, you now want
Maybe
to
you know,
emotionally blackmail the
that
person. Like you must
he
belong
became
to
a
our
lecturer
group.
because that was the only option. He became a lecturer because that was the only option. That was what all of them had. You never ask. We never ask these things. We just, in our family, maybe all of us are Sam. Nobody ever asked, do you actually want to be a lawyer? Do you want to be a lawyer? Why are we following? Do you get? Would that be like, no, in our family, you know, and if that child fails, because I saw a lot of that or a bit of that in medical school, where some friends were sent to school to read medicine because their parents said you must read medicine. And they got to school and the person will be failing. Maybe because the first set of exams will take like 3 exams. Person will fail all 3. Oh no, 5. I think it's 5 exams. Will fail all 5 and resit all 5 before he or she can pass. Then I think the next one was 3 exams. Fail all 3 and resit all 3. And you see this person is literally struggling to read this thing because the parents said you must be a doctor. I know some of my friends that went school, one became a photographer. One went into is working in Microsoft. Another one, after she finished, she carried her certificate, gave it to her parents, and said, "Okay, I did this for you, so here it is. Now I'm going to go and read accounting." Can you imagine? So she's an excellent accountant. All the extra qualifications is like water, it just flows for her. Sometimes we don't ask ourselves the questions. We just, I don't even know how we got onto this trend of the conversation. We're talking about mental health, but this is part of it. So people, if I say a lot of people struggling in a profession they don't want, or struggling in a relationship they don't want, or struggling in just being in a situation they don't want, and they don't know how to deal with it. They just don't know how to deal with it. They can't cope with the stress and the challenges of their situation, so to speak. And I think sometimes you need to pause. I tell people, okay, if you want to take care of your mental health, how do you take care of it? Because somebody who is experiencing good mental health, you are happy, you are positive, you are in control of your thoughts, you are in control of your emotions, you are in control of your behavior, which is why you always hear now emotional intelligence is a big deal, is a big thing now. People are talking about it,
Everybody says it now. Emotional intelligence.
emotional intelligence. Because when we're going, nobody knows anything about emotional intelligence. Nobody to know anything about emotional intelligence. Now we're hearing that you need to do emotional. You have to be emotionally intelligent. You have to be, because it's an issue. You see, people, they go from 0 to 100 in seconds.
Triggered.
From 0 to 100. So people don't even know why they get angry like that. Anger is another kind of, is another discussion. For the expressive anger people, the repressed anger people, that's another conversation on its own. So, but my joy is that, thank God for the times we are in. People are demanding more conversations. People are demanding, the narrative is changing slowly but surely. That okay, we need to pay attention to certain things. If you see a child who was formerly a very happy child, very not a stressful child, and then all of a sudden the child starts getting angry, starts fighting his or her siblings, starts fighting at school, starts just the behavior goes from 360 degrees negative, then you know that there's something that's going on with that child. Now we're beginning to talk about the uncomfortable conversations of child abuse, uncomfortable conversations of domestic violence, uncomfortable conversations of what was it, sexual molestation, and then now you're hearing people say different things, because when we don't take care of ourselves, this is what leads to all the broken relationships. When we are not aware of our own emotions, aware of our own life and our own issues, then you hang and join body with somebody else. You get then start projecting all the negativity inside us onto that other person. That's what you start. So you now start having. It's just like you can't just, and then you be wondering what's wrong. It's not that sometimes don't even ask that person. It's not that the person does not want to be good or want to be nice or want to be happy. Everybody wants to be happy. is that it's not that the person doesn't know what is right. It's not that the person is programmed with what is wrong. It's programmed. You see a lot of ladies, for example, maybe their mom never, had a successful relationship, but has like 4 or 5 children or 5 daughters. Let's say she has 5 daughters, but she never had men as come. She even told the girls, all men are scum. Then her daughters get married. Sometimes, see, one by one, they all come back to the house. Marriage will end. They are back in the house with their mother. In fact, as one comes back, by the others, maybe even the last born who might be saying, no, it's not going to happen to me. I'm going to be married. And somehow those ones will not be putting in that one. If that one makes the mistake to say, oh, my husband said so and so, how can you be taking so? They won't even know that they are projecting their own issues onto the girl. Maybe the marriage doesn't have those kind of issues. Because I tell people, don't run your marriage or your relationship because of what your friend said or how they run theirs. They're two different personalities. So some people they've taken their parents. I think I need to talk about this when it comes to trauma.
Yeah.
Trauma can be experienced I experienced trauma. Maybe somebody attacked me, somebody did something to me. So I can experience trauma directly. But trauma can also be experienced indirectly. Let's say I have a friend, a guy breaks her heart in such a painful way, right? They didn't break my heart, but he broke her heart. You know that I can make a decision based on what she went through and say, no guy will ever break my heart like that. I will show any guy. And that's what a lot of I will show any guy that ever tries to break my heart. Then she marries a guy who maybe has no intention of breaking her heart. But he does one thing that reminds her what that other guy did to her friend. She would descend on that guy with all with the furies, all the fires of hell. The guy will wonder where, and when you ask her, have you been molested? Have you been this thing? Have you been cheated on? She will say no. You two, you think that there's nothing. So I always ask, okay, so tell me where you have seen stuff like this before. And bam, they'll tell you that my friend or my mother or my sister, and they experience it. Just like the way you experience joy. If somebody gets a new car today and it tells you, you feel, or maybe your friend experiences one big boost, you'll be writing, I'm so proud of you. We experience that, like a vicarious thing. We experience that joy. We are like, let us have our own. No, God will help us. Because when a good thing happens to somebody, it kind of like gives others permission to experience that good thing. Yes. So likewise, the bad. When the bad happens and you buy into all of that without dissecting the issue, separating the issue. Okay, she's going through this. Okay, let's all sit down. Let's talk about this. What happened? What led to this? Okay, this is not the kind of guy. Obviously, this is not the kind of guy you should be associating with. You can always get a better person. This guy is not the only guy. You cannot conclude that men are scum because of one guy. So separate the pain. It's painful. It's painful. Let's not lie and say it's not painful. It's painful. Let's go through this pain. Let's get you over this. And then you now pocket this person aside that, okay, all the lessons I've learned from this relationship, they will not repeat in the next relationship. But when you look at it, you use this one guy to now judge every guy. Then every relationship you get into, you self-sabotage by yourself. I had a client, I call them clients, a client who, because of the bad relationship she had with her father, right, or the non-existent relationship she had with her father, because I think he left them when they were still very young, or when she was young, based on his own issues with her mom. She didn't even realize, and then she now got molested and different stuff happened, and she was now older, right? And every relationship, every guy that toast her, somehow she'll use her own hand to sabotage that relationship. She won't even know that she's using her own hand to sabotage you too. At the back of her mind, she'll just say, that's how this one will come now and tell me a story. And then he will leave. That's how this one will come now and tell me a story. And then he will leave. And when we now dug deeper, that's why that, because there are certain promises the father made to the mom before they got married, and those promises were not fulfilled when they now got married, then somehow the marriage kind of like scattered. Eventually, he tried to patch up later, but the girl was already tainted with that, thinking that if my father, not even, and she wasn't thinking on that depth. It's when you actually dig deeper, then you now get the client to see that that is really what you were thinking about. That if my own father could leave me, there's nobody else that can. In fact,
why should I trust
anybody,
another woman?
exactly,
When
exactly. So
my
it's
own,
which
my
your
own
if
where I came from,
exactly. It's like it's your core. Your father is like your core. Father is very important. People, don't play with your fatherhood. Once you have children, don't play with it. Don't treat them as afterthoughts. Or I can leave now. I'll come back later now. Don't do that to them, because you don't understand the kind of effect it has on them. They are like, you are like their core. So if you can leave, to them anybody can leave. If the person who gave birth to you can leave, I even feel as if that is why there's a scripture in the Bible that says, if my father and my mother forsake me, the Lord will
Yes,
take me up.
yes,
Because it's that important.
yes.
It's that important that a father and a mother do not abandon their
The
child.
child.
So, and I think that is where a lot of our problems start from. When we see so much, because of financial challenges, because the adults, the father or the mother, cannot handle maybe the stresses, like, so they just make that. That's part of what happened, because they can't take care of this child, or they will have more children than they can take care of. So they cut. Yes, yes. So as I was saying, so I believe that scripture in the Bible where it says, if when my father, or if my father and mother forsake me, the Lord will take me up. I think it's
Yes,
an extremely important scripture. It's more than just an emotional scripture of, I have people say, even if my father and mother forsake me, the Lord will take me up. No,
yes,
your father and mother are not even meant to forsake you. That's what he's
yes,
actually really trying to
yes,
say. Because
yes,
yes, they're your nurturers. Your father is your core. Your father is he's almost like, it's just like when you say, I have a father, almighty father. If I
yes,
have a father, there's somebody who cares whether I've eaten or not eaten. There's somebody who cares whether all is well with me, But unfortunately, in society, we have adults who themselves do not know, their mental state is not even, you know, all right, as in it's not optimal, which is why they can't cope with stresses. Maybe they have more children than they plan to have. So they find out, they start giving these children out to different relatives to train. There's some, that there's something they used to say back then, which affected a lot of women, my mother's generation. Then maybe the woman is the first. They will now go on to have 10 children, and they will tell her to train all of them. So you would have situations where the women, in fact, I heard that story so many times, they will spend a large part of their income training their siblings, to the neglect of their own children, right? And in their mind, they're expecting their siblings to take care of them in old age. Meanwhile, the siblings you train will go on to marry, of course, and their wife or their
their
husband will
own
not
life.
hear.
Yes,
So now find out that they will not tell you, but look at your children now. Your children, sister, your children. And then you now turn to these children. Then you'll be wondering why these children are not relating with you the way a child relates with the mother, where the child will just, my mother needs something and go all out. It's because of the kind of behavior you exhibited while they were growing up. You were showing them that your siblings were more important than them, right? All this, there's some things we do in that is really, really wrong behavior. It's also, there's a psychiatrist I had on the show once that said that is the bad behavior at home that promotes mental illness. The bad examples that we give, where that you even see a woman, maybe like in my own, some of what I experienced in some families, where you see a woman who now wants to take care of her children. The siblings will curse her to, is it only your children? Is it only your children? As if to say, you should sell and come and be taking care of us. Forget those children.
yes.
We're like, but who
Which
will
is
take?
it shows dysfunction already, because to have that thought shows that you're not thinking normally.
Yes. You don't. It's like as if, come and take care of us instead. Forget this, your children. I mean, that in itself is a wrong, you
Yes,
know, it's a wrong mentality. Okay, the woman will now leave. She won't focus on her children. She'll focus on her siblings. Then when she now gets old, her siblings will tell her that, oh, sorry, we can't repay the favor because we are busy with our own families. So you see a lot of elderly people experiencing, you just see them regret. They'll be so bitter. They'll be like, I've trained all these people. and none of them is looking after me in my old age. Their children, maybe some of you have even moved away. The children will not even. They don't want to remember. They don't even want to remember because a lot of them had to hustle their way, despite the fact that their parents had money. You get, so there's so many dysfunctionality that we bring into the family unit. The family unit is supposed to be like that unit of safety, that unit of love, that unit where if all else fails, this family. There was something I heard from Bishop T.D. Jakes that really, I think, was it him or was it his daughter that I heard from that? And he said the man he can drop anything. In fact, he came to Nigeria for a conference in HOTR years back, and we were waiting to hear him speak, and we heard that he had to fly back to America, that there was a family emergency, and he had to fly back. And we were young then, so we were like, and he came all the way to Nigeria, and he had to fly back when they called him that there was a family emergency or something like that. And now I understand it. Maybe watching him now, he said he was ready. He was ready to forsake everything just to be, if his children needed him, he was going to be there for his children. And I think one of his daughters, the one who had the whole situation, who is now a powerful minister now, said that she knew that no matter what, that her father would stand by her. Despite all of, if she went back today, her father, look at it now in the Bible, the prodigal son who did all that nonsense. Something at the back of his mind was telling him that at least if I go back to my father, what's worse? He will say, be a servant. What's worse? That's what he will say. That shows that there's at the core, his core was strong. His father, he knew that his father would not say, I don't want to see you again, Yeah. But for some families, even if something happens and it's not even, it's not the child's fault. The child didn't do anything to say that you are disowning the child or anything like that. Because maybe there are financial issues, or you couldn't manage your own life well, or that kind of thing. Then you now abandon the child, or you just subject the child, let the child go and hustle, or something. We do a lot of all those things. And then when these children now become adults, we start wondering why they are struggling in their marriage, struggling in their finance, because parenting is an active word. Actually, supposed to, even when they are teenagers, it's an active word. You're meant to be. There's a stage where you're telling them what to do. Quite all right. There's another stage where it's like a discussion. There must be an explanation. As you're telling them, you can't just tell them, and that because I said so, and that settles it. That's not. Get the point where there's a discussion. They need to understand why they are doing this. Just like when those who told their children, go and read medicine. It was not up for discussion. That, okay, so what do you like? Maybe we should explore, maybe we should even talk. Like a friend of mine was having a talk with the daughter. He read medicine because his father read medicine. So he thought his daughter would read medicine. And she told them, she no send them. Thank God said they're in America, so they listened to her. Because at the end, because when he saw his own experience, because when he came out, he started doing something else, but he's still doing the medicine anyway. Eventually had to still do the medicine. But he said there's no point him touch. Let the girl decide. Let the girl, with guidance, talk, hear, what the person wants to say. That relationship is extremely important. We need that relationship. Because when kids know that their parents are there for them, I was looking at some young people today. You see it all over social media. Baba cuts soup for me. Everybody's hustling. We need to find how we will make this money. Where this money? If I this money, where they see all this money? It's just a reflection of what's happening in society. There's so much struggle. There's so much suffering. Children will go to school, come out, no job. It's just one thing after another. So we're already seeing it happening in society. So I tell people that we have to be careful what we are, even the messages we are sending out to these young people. These young people are not our generation. Our generation, there's some things we'll never think of as an option. I don't know how they do that. They will think of it as an option. There's a guy I was meant to interview. I'm still going to interview him. He's a comedian. So he did a skit about killing his mom to make money. And then he acted it out in public, just like they shoot all these their skits, and he's doing it in the marketplace.
Yes.
And people his acting was so good that they thought it was real. They didn't think it was a skit. In fact, the blogs now carried him.
I saw it.
The blogs I'm telling you, the boy had to come to meet me. Ma, please, can you interview me? I did not kill my mom. This thing was I'm telling you, see, this was just a joke. And this was just, I was just trying to blow as the actor. Everybody believed it. Yahoo boy kills mother to make money or something like that. To show you that other people that you have to be careful. Somebody posted one video. And I was telling people, no, we have to be careful. The kind of messaging we give to these young people, they are not like us that think that this is not. I beg, forget this. That will just laugh safe and just leave it. Some of them, they are taking that cut soap seriously. They are taking it seriously. It's a serious thing. Oh, God, show us the way. I was telling someone that comedy, like if you're watching SNL or all these comedians abroad, their jokes are not always so. They're just jokes. Some, yes, about what's happening in their society, but some are just jokes that they whip. Check out Nigerian comedians. All of their jokes. What is happening in our society, both in the babalawo, both in the everything is. So these kids, they take these things. They literally take your message. If you are putting out the message that they need to be diabolical to make it, they swallow it. That's the thing. If you are telling them that they need to, it's just want to, just do this, do this. In fact, you need to be a woman, just be a runs girl. So we shouldn't take it for granted that. I mean, growing up, I was told certain things. There's certain things that I didn't know they had that effect on me but I was told that you don't do this to succeed. You don't do, selling your body is not an option. You get, use your brain, no matter how hard it gets, this is not an option, So, but they are not that kind. That's not their foundation. Anything is an option. It's almost like as if they were told, just get in there and just because now you see somebody, I was talking to these young people and they're cracking jokes that when the guy, their mom, maybe they finally brought, one guy has been hustling in Lagos and finally brings a Mercedes Benz to his mother. The mother will not ask him, how did you make this money? And will be like, oh, throw Thanksgiving in church. They won't ask him. They'll be suspecting, that something. Steve Harvey was telling this story of when he started making money in Hollywood. And he was I think he was on the show, on the set of Roseanne, this show, that's a comedy show. Yeah. And I think maybe he was even only earning 50,000 a week or something like 55,000. He said nobody could tell him jack. He was sending $10,000 to his parents. Every week. He was like feeling like a G. His mother told his father, you better get down to that Los Angeles and go and find out what this boy is doing. Okay. Go and find out what this boy is doing. I don't want to come there and not discover that we are chopping this money and it's drugs this boy is selling on the streets of LA. The father went there. Yes. He had to take the father to see. The father didn't be. He had to take the father and say, okay, Roseanne is earning, like, I think Roseanne was even earning $200 and something thousand for every show. So it wasn't strange for Steve to earn that. He had to show his father everything. And those are even Americans. Can you imagine? Those are Americans that are wondering, is that boy selling drugs there? Please go and find out before we sit down here and then the boy will lose. Because that one, he can decide to just get there now and start. That was how the mom was talking, But here, do we even ask? A girl, they were showing this movie, Olutori, and this girl was sending money to her mom and she was, saying that her sister should come and meet her in Lagos. And the mom didn't think to ask, what kind of work are you doing in Lagos? But the girl was a hooker. At the end, okay, in the film, she was killed, and his sister was taken away just like that. They carrying them across the border. I don't even know if she escaped. Anyway, that story, the bottom line was the whole thing that the parents were not even asking, what is she doing in Lagos that she's sending this money? So just turn a blind eye to it.
So there's a lot of dysfunction in areas, right? Yes.
Yes. So yes.
Yes.
So that's all. It's all part of this. Even talking about achieving this how do we achieve this mental wellness? I was talking about knowing what to do to enjoy life, understanding your weaknesses, your strengths, becoming more self-aware. Because I think it starts even from that self-awareness. If you know what you are coming from, the problem that you are, how will I say, the dysfunctionality that you are fighting. You know You know how to address it. If I'm coming from a family of abandoned projects, hey, lack of consistency, or just anything goes, let's just go, that kind of. And I now come into life, and somebody's telling me I should be a productive individual. Tell me how somebody who's always abandoning projects would be productive, or somebody who is not consistent, because those are all the skills we are hearing now that you need. You need consistency, you need decisiveness, you need perseverance, you need to be do the same thing, you keep going every day, persistence, you need all these things. But if someone's coming from a family of they don't even persist for anything, you get, that person is now contending with being persistent, or contending in being positive, or contending with being consistent, you know. So some of these things, so I think try to find out, become self-aware, understand what you're dealing with, but you know how to begin to address it. Am I indecisive? Do I lack consistency? Do I just do something now and then I stop? I'm not doing again. Look for something else to do. The amount of people that have not been able to create anything worthwhile because they keep abandoning stuff. They just try something for a little while and then jump to the next thing. Wait, this one is not working. So their lives will be littered with abandoned projects, but they don't know that it takes a toll on their mental health. They'll get to a certain age and they'll look back at everything and say, I've not done anything with my life. I've not succeeded at anything. Because they didn't have the character to stick to something. Whether somebody said you have to get to that point where you are able, whether you have money, you don't have money, you're on the street somewhere, maybe almost abandoned, but you are able to still fulfill your vision or your passion. Whether you had money or you didn't have money, that's how you know that this is your vision or your purpose, or if you are able to still talk about it. Whether, just like mental health, I talk about it. Whether I have money, whether I don't have money, whether they paid me for it, they didn't pay me for it, whether I'm feeling good or I'm not feeling good. You get it, and we need to build that in people, because not having a purpose is one of the things that I've seen that actually contributes to mental illness. When people feel as if they don't have a reason to be here, they're not adding to anybody, they're not contributing to anybody. Who exactly? Whose life are they impacting? Whose life have they impacted? They're not impacted anybody. Everybody, they look at their mates. Social media even adds to that. They will check social media, see somebody that they left school with, and the worst part, the social media is best foot forward, best fake foot forward even. It's not real. So the other person will now be looking at his life and say, see this person. Can you imagine this person doing this, doing that, doing this, doing that, and see me here doing nothing, and start to judge his life based on that. And that alone now will cause discontent, because contentment is another trait of mental wellness. When you are able to be content and to be patient, even when things are not working well, but having hope that things will eventually turn out, being grateful in the moment, being grateful for what is happening in your life, because there's always something good happening. Yes. We're telling, there was a conversation we were having, and we're saying, look, you can see somebody who has 10 things in his life, and 9 things are going bad, are going good, but he just has one thing that is not going well. And he can focus on that one thing, and that one thing will expand to swallow up the 9 things. Focusing on that bad one thing, it will expand, because what you focus on expands. But you can see somebody who 9 things are not going well in his life, and only one thing is going well, and he will just put his focus on that one thing. And that one thing, as in gratitude and thankfulness that this is working, and put energy and all of that into it, and that one thing will expand and begin to influence the 9 things that he thought were not going well. So all that, how does it come? Contentment. Okay, if I have 10 naira, am I content with that? Yes, I need 1 billion, would be really nice. But if I have 10 naira right now, there must be a reason why I have 10 naira right now. The billions will come, which is like I was talking about the case of my uncle, where That deal, yes, it happened. Oh man, I messed up with that deal. Okay, that's not going to be the only deal I'm ever going to do. Who's to say what can happen tomorrow? You get,
Yeah.
at least I was skilled enough to get that deal, meaning that I'm also skilled enough to get other deals. I just have to be patient. The right mindset, you get the right mindset, not thinking that, oh, that deal is over. The right mindset. So I think when we have the right mindset, and some of the things that help us have that is where this is where fitness and healthy living comes in. Because in the brain, dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, all these hormones actually keep us, in a state of gratefulness, in a state of joy. We feel all things are possible. I mean, just run a marathon now, 5 miles, and get to the end of that marathon. It's like anybody that tries you after that marathon, you'll be like, man, nobody should come near me because I am just the G. That's how high it makes you. You'll be tired, of course, you'll be exhausted, but you'll be like, man, do you know what I did? I ran so marathon. I did it. It gives you that feeling of anything is possible, which is where I
Yes.
see people don't appreciate the effects of exercise. Like I was allergic to exercise growing up. As in, there's anybody allergic to exercise. And I was telling someone that now I understand why I was allergic. My friends in school, because I went to an all girls school, anytime they
Yes.
called us when I was in year one and they called us on the field to like test our strengths and physicality and all that. And then girls will be passing out on the field. When girls, when they're having the chest pain, they'll do as if they're having seizures. They it will be carrying girls here and there. It will be as if something else is going on this field. And I was looking at them and saying, God, it's not me that's going to enter this. It's not me. I don't know what's going on with these girls. So the rest of us who are still scared of even trying to participate will now just say no, because you see girls who can actually run. They are like having chest pain. But it's like as if something else is going on. It's like an out of body
Yes.
experience. What is going on here?
Yes.
Aliens have taken over their body. That's how dramatic. Because girls are emotional, so their own drama is beyond. They'll act it more than what is happening. So I was like, man, this exercise is not going to work. It was years later in school that I discovered that I can actually run fast when I was told to run for something. I could do short sprints. I said, see
Yes.
how life is. But from there, I just didn't have the interest. And then, so later, I think I tried to work out with my husband, and he's a real fitness person. So I just felt, man, no, this demand, I cannot meet up. So I just said, I'm not thinking about it. But funny enough, when I was now trying to when I was beginning to deal with the depression, where I made up my mind I was going to deal with it, I
Yes.
came across an old schoolmate of mine. She was bigger than me in school, but she looked so beautiful in the picture that all the days of Blackberry had now come out by then.
Yes.
So I was like, babe, what are you doing? What's going on? You're looking fantastic. And she was telling me, she discovered healthy living, and all that, that she really fell down. She was getting too big and all, And I met her. We all knew when I think she got married a year before me. So we saw at the wedding, and then we kind of
Yes.
lost touch because we went abroad, came back, all that. So she now said, no, she started, and then she started working out, and she's part of a group, so they encourage themselves to work out. So she added me to the group. So they would, and this were like, we had a crazy fitness lady that was just like, she would just, so it was like we're all pacing ourselves, but we would encourage ourselves still like, babe, just do it, just go in there. What are you gonna do? So that's how I started. My mother was in shock, but don't think whenever he was around, then what's going on with this girl? And I would maybe walk, do the whole maybe 5 kilometers, or I'll do aerobics, and I will feel so. I was like, man, what have I been doing? That there's something like this that makes you feel this good. And then I would feel, and I would carry that energy into my day. So I thought that it was harder to sit down and start crying or feeling sorry for myself anytime I worked out. I found out that it
You
was
had
harder
all
to.
the hormones were working on your behalf, right?
Yeah,
They
you'll
kept
be
you
on it
on
for
a
a
positive
long
track.
time. Yes, and my mind would be so clear. I'd now be able to write. I'd be able to think. I'd be able to now. I started speculating. Okay, what do I want to do? What do I want to do? There was so much energy. I said, I think this thing. There's something here. So I would now, plan my meals. Then okay, yes, we don't eat heavy in the night. And then then I loved walking. So I would discover different fitness. You do Shanti for a while. They say, Shanti, I beg, leave me. move shanty. Then you do maybe the other lady. There's one lady that does, you shall discover. So I was just discovering different things. It was such an exciting time, and that I really understood. I said, no, we cannot. If we are living without exercise, then we are robbing ourselves. If we are living without movement, we're robbing ourselves. I mean, nowadays we've learned that sitting is the next smoking. Sitting. Now, you're supposed to sit for only 2 hours, get up, walk around, shake your body, move around, and before you now come back to your laptop again. So I mean, movement is extremely key to work out those stress hormones, to cause all those things to just, sweat, burn the calories. It's extremely important. But what I see a lot of us do is that when we take exercise as a duty, or those who take it as a profession, or those who take hormones for it anyway, so they're not thinking about it as something that is adding to them. I was reading a study where this scientist discovered that exercise can even prevent dementia. Yeah, that was because what exercise does is like it replenishes the brain cells. It like makes like as if fresh brain cells start to come up. There's a study that has been done that exercise even helps to reduce the effects of Parkinson's. Parkinson's is a degenerative disease, tremors and all. And that exercise actually, helps because it works on the brain and repairs those parts of the brain that are getting all messed up and all that. And then depression is even the easiest one that it just hammers straight. It just, because those hormones are low. That's why depression yes, those hormones are low. That's why depression is there. Once the hormones are elevated, and then you now understand that, okay, and then if you really actually do it well, follow the instructions, find out that during the day, till you get tired, you're up and moving, you're more vibrant. You do your workout in the morning, you get to work. For some, their tea or their coffee, they're taking it, or their smoothie, they're taking it, they're like, then they surround themselves with positive things. I tell people, if you want your mental health to really, really thrive, you can't keep listening to crap. You can't keep listening to discouragement. You can't keep watching things that are unwholesome, that make you feel that life is not worth living. It's what you feed your mind with that you will express. You get. So if you're like, oh, I need to do my exercise, I need to like get your exercise done, then the whole day, or the way you're surrounding yourself with good music, you're surrounding yourself with positive things, even if there's a challenge that comes up, you meet it with some kind of positivity, not just, oh, this challenge is, oh my God, the stress is too much. No, you meet it with kind of like, okay, there's a challenge, I need to sort this out. How can I sort this out? Can I sort this out now? Or is this something that if it comes upon me now, it's going to be too stressful, so I need to like give it some time and then come back to it later? That's how we're meant to look at such things objectively. But if your hormones are low, everything is, you are too even exhausted to think of how to deal.
You're like defeated. You're like on the floor. Just bury me. Just kill me. Kill me.
Just kill me. Just kill me. That kind of state of mind. But exercise exercise is so revolutionary. I think it's just because people feel. So the joke they cracked was, okay, so tell me the minimal amount of exercise I need because I don't want to be doing too much exercise. But the truth is that when you now get into exercise, after a while, it actually becomes addictive. You might stop for a little while, maybe work, commitments, you might not have time to run and all that, but you always still come back to it. It's that kind of just always because if you've seen the effects of exercise, positive effects of exercise in your life, it's hard to say, I'm never going to exercise again, or exactly. You discover that it's a lifestyle.
Exactly.
It's a lifestyle. It's not just
like that person who takes cocaine or something, and he knows that he takes it because he wants to get high. He knows that there's a result from this thing, so that, oh, if I do this thing, I'm going to get this feeling. I'm going to feel that way. So when you get that benefit from exercise, you all the time. You see that solution. So it's about crossing the threshold. And like you just said, that's connecting exercise, your physical health to your mental health. So physical wellness, mental wellness, emotional, all these things are all together. They're all tied.
They're all tied, exactly. They're all tied. Your thought life, you have to think about what you're thinking about. If everything you're thinking about is negative, it's going to weigh you down. It's going to weigh you down. You're wondering why. That's what I said something that, okay, if you're struggling with depression, Then you go and start listening to just another sad love song of my brain like crazy. You see these memes they do where a girl is listening to the sad love song and then she starts crying, and then the music, the internet connection stops in the middle. Then she stops crying to the connection. Then she continues crying. It's hilarious. Because I was like, what's this? But those are the things. You just want to sit down, you want to eat ice cream and be depressed, and listen to all the sad love songs. And you shouldn't be doing that if you're struggling with your mental health. It's not even, don't go near, that's not the time to watch Titanic. That's not the time to watch Romeo and Juliet. Instead, go and watch Braveheart, or go and watch something where, or sports, not Superman, go and watch something where people are conquering stuff. Because the mindset you need at that time is you need to conquer. You need to conquer this because
It's
depression
emotion
can be like
that you are feeling
this emotion. So that you, by the time you conquer today, conquer tomorrow, conquer next tomorrow, new neural pathways are formed in the brain. So they kind of like fortify themselves against depression. So before you know it, you're not even thinking about depression or getting depressed. Yes, you might get sad about one or two things because that one is natural, but not that you'll be crying every day over something. And you're asking yourself, what am I crying about? That's the funny thing about depression. When you now ask, what am I crying? Okay, you broke up with me. Broke up with you when? For some people, it's called that maybe the relationship ended 5 years before. But every time they think about that relationship, they start crying. It's like as if they just go back in time. Just remembering that relationship, or maybe hearing a song that two of them, danced to together, or a restaurant that went to together. That's another thing where they call triggers. So the person will just go back in time to that 5 years ago. Likewise, when people are traumatized or by a certain thing that happens, maybe when they were 10, they will just pass through a place, maybe a smell, maybe a nostalgic smell of something, maybe the perfume of the attacker, whoever, and they will just go back in time. They'll become that 10-year-old child or 11-year-old child. They won't even know, they just transport. Triggers will take you, they are not that, they will take you out of the present. Just take you back to the spot when the thing happened. Or maybe when you had a traumatic accident. They will just take you back. Before you know, you're like, and then you'll be wondering why you are reacting the way you are reacting. So we tell people these kind of things too. When you're dealing with depression, you have to be careful about triggers. You have to understand what the triggers are. You have to know when a relationship has the potential of becoming a trigger. You have to know when a thought pattern has the potential of becoming a trigger. You have to know when something you're doing in your life, an action you take, takes you back to that spot of failure before you were a failure. Right.
I'm sorry, this thing you're saying now, I think they also now reveal how important it is to have help, right? That is to actually get therapy, not trying to solve it yourself. Because sometimes it might be denial, right? Even if you have the good intention to help yourself, you might actually be deceiving yourself because you are the judge and the jury at the same time. Yeah.
Therapy, because in Nigeria, but thank God, people are actually coming up, and trying to understand that therapy is extremely important. The first thing people say, I don't want to tell my story to a total stranger. Sometimes it's even better to talk to a stranger who's going to be objective. Who's going to be objective? I know people who have spoken to family members about their situation. They now heard it in the family meeting. And that now further compounded the issue.
Yes.
When you're talking to a therapist is a professional. They will be able to point out the gaps in your thinking or the wrong patterns in your thinking, or they will even point out the issues, where this problem started from. It's like untangling your thinking. You might think this is the reason why I'm like this. By the time you finish talking, therapist will tell you, so no, this will listen to you. Person will listen to you, but the person will be able to identify those gaps that caused wrong thinking. Because once you can correct the wrong thinking, the right thinking will now produce the right feelings. The right feelings will now produce the right actions. But the wrong thinking will keep producing the old patterns. That's the old feelings and the wrong. Like this story, this story. I think I need to say that would really help a lot of people. So there's this young man when he was in JS, let's say JS3. He promised his mom that he would take SAT. He was an American guy anyway. He would take the SATs as they call it, which then
Yeah.
says very hard exam. You know, you need to 800, 800. So everything is 1/6. You know. So this guy was telling the story from this perspective of what his father told him. Said his father went for a Toastmasters function. You know those Toastmasters, those people that teach you how to do public speaking. So the father went there,
Yeah.
and this very successful man was talking and telling his story. You know, I think he was a magazine publisher, entrepreneur, big time entrepreneur. You know, and he was saying that in his JS he took the SATs, that he was just a bum in school. His mom was a single mom, but he was always failing, very unserious in school and all that. And when he now went to take the SATs, the result came out and he got 1,480. Now, even intelligent people get 800, 900, 1,000, you know, but he got 1,480. He showed his mom the result. The mom said, "Did you cheat?" Because the mom said he knows the boy. The mom said, "Did you cheat?" He said, "Mom, I tried to cheat. I tried, but it wasn't possible. It wasn't, I tell you, I didn't cheat." You know, he was almost swearing that I didn't cheat.
Yeah.
Then the mom said, "Okay, the gist got to school. The teacher's head. So they said, maybe we missed the mark on this boy. Maybe this boy is intelligent too, and we didn't see it too. You know, so people were contemplating, this boy got 1,480. This boy, this rascal, you know, that's what they were saying. Next thing, so the boy now felt, me too. So I'm smart like this. I have potential like this." So he said, so he started to behave like somebody that had 1,480. Started going to class. He started listening, you know, in class. He started, you know, started paying attention. Now got serious for the rest of his secondary school. Got into a university, started a business, got married, became successful. 12 years later, after 12 years later, the college board SAT reviews their results every particular year. There's a
Yeah.
time they review all results.
Yes.
So the letter came to his house, and his wife said, open there's a mail for you. He didn't even open it, I think, the next day. When he opened it, I said, SAT now, the SAT people had written to him that year that he got his results, about 10 results, or how many results, wrong results were sent to about 13 people. And he was one of the people that his actual score was 740 or something like that.
So,
That his actual score, after he has succeeded in life, then now his actual score was
but it
740.
shows you like a placebo. How it gave him a new mindset, right?
He said that people thought that his life changed when he saw the 1,480. He said no, that what his life changed when he started to behave like a 1,480. A 1,480 student goes to class. A 1,480 student doesn't fool around. You get a 1,480 student will listen in class. So he said people can say, "Oh, the people change, the people change, people can never change." People can change if their behavior changes. How does their behavior change? When their thinking changes. He started to think like somebody who is a 1480. He started to, okay, and it began to affect his feeling, how he felt about himself. Oh, I'm intelligent. So I have sense. Oh, you know, as if, and I've been fooling out here all along, telling myself that I'm a loser.
That's really, really deep.
I can get 1480. I can get 1480. Started going to class, started paying attention, started thinking of himself in that light. And then the rest of his life just caught up with his thinking, with his feeling, and his behavior. And that was it. Only to hear later that, oh, guy, your mark was actually 740. You know, there's so much he has experienced
But
now
at
that
this
there's nothing you
time,
can
it's
tell
too
him.
late. Exactly. He's
It's
already
too late.
made. Yes.
It's too late.
You can't take it
So
from
when
him
we tell
anymore. He has that mindset already of a 1480 guy. It's too late. You can't take it from me anymore.
it, he has embraced it, he has lived it, he
Yes.
has seen that it works.
Yes.
You get so,
Yes.
and I think so that's part of it. If we are thinking like 1480s, you know,
Yes.
in our lives, 1480s,
Yes.
instead of always bending to the 740s, or they had, even when things are not going as well as we want, but we know we are
Yes.
1480s, you get,
Yes.
eventually our lifestyle, everything begins to catch up to that.
Align.
Oh,
Yes.
I'm not mediocre, maybe I'm an excellent person. How does an excellent
Yes.
person think? How does an
Yes.
excellent person run a business? How does an excellent person act? You know, oh, I'm a resourceful person. How does a resourceful person think? How does a resourceful person behave or feel in any situation? You know, let me start to think in those terms than thinking, oh, there's nothing for me here, this country, there's nothing for me here. If you are a loser in Nigeria, there as in if your mentality is a losing mentality in Nigeria, you can go to America and that one will not change you. You won't be because you got to America. You get, but if you have a winning mentality here, it's just that you feel as if the environment is not conducive. So you want to switch environment to something more conducive. That's a different ball game entirely. You know, exactly, that's a different ball game entirely. I don't, okay, maybe I don't like this environment, so I want to go to a more conducive environment. You know, understanding of it too is extremely important. The understanding of it, yeah, exactly. Wow, my family members start looking for me.
Yes, I'm really grateful for the time you really given me so much time tonight, and I really appreciate that. Thank your family for me, and I'm sure the whole world will thank them also. You know, because I think it's been a very fruitful discussion, and I hope that this will help some people see how they can number one, you know, take into cognizance how they actually act, how they are behaving. Then in some scenarios, seek for therapy just to get clarity and nip it by the bud, right? Nip it at the bud at the beginning so that you can control of the outcomes, right? Like I always talk about in fitness, you want to determine the outcome. So in life generally, you want to determine the outcome. So if you have to do something right now, be sure that you are doing what you have to do to get the outcome that you require. So I'm very grateful for that. Thanks so much
Exactly.
for coming on board. Really
I hope it was.
No, it was definitely much more than well. I was quiet, and to keep me quiet for this long is not easy. You know, so I was just nodding my head like,
I was wondering at the point that
I was learning, you know, and I was like watching a movie, you know, going through all the things you were saying. I really do appreciate, right? Thanks so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
To all the viewers, thank you for watching. You're trying to do something, anything from you? You want to add something in?
No, I've had a blast. In fact, I didn't realize the time that it was going, but I've had a blast. I always have a blast anyway, talking about mental health. So, yeah. So it's fantastic. I enjoyed myself. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So thank you all for watching. We'll be back again soon. So please put these things to practice and see your life soar, right? You can take charge of your life. You can take charge of how your life turns out, wherever you are right now. You heard her story. You know, you can follow her on Instagram and find out more about what she's saying. You know, this is someone who has lived it and who is teaching it now. You can take charge of your life. You can become something. You don't have to think about going down the drain. You don't have to commit suicide. You don't have to be depressed. You don't have to hide in depression. You know, you can actually live happily and successfully. And once again, thank you so much. Right?
Really You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So have a lovely one. See you.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Bye.